Okay guys, doing an update on the van project here. Getting ready to work on the floor. I'm gonna do this video because as I'm working on it, there's not gonna be a lot of filming going on. I'm gonna stay real focused on the task ahead. So I'm gonna do this video right now just to lay out how I'm gonna do it. So this is a B200 3/4 ton donor van. That's a 1/2 ton. So being that I had so much trouble fitting, this floor, like if you remember, I had to use this piece cut out from the old floor because that floor on the donor van was thinner in this section here. So this step lined up great because I used the bolt holes to set everything in place. That step over there was a nightmare. And still, it still needs to be finished off. Excuse me. But, so given that I had some issues with this floor, I feel like it would be bad to take this whole entire floor in one drop, because then you have a whole floor you're trying to finesse and you might need more play or you might need to figure stuff out. So I also talked about how solid this floor is in the middle, minus the obvious and this front section before the cross member is scaly, but the center could actually clean up. There's a lot of floor left in this van. So my new plan of attack is I'm going to save some of this floor in the center. Everything between the frame channels is going to be saved. Everything on the outside is going to go. So my cut lines for this are going to be, since you have to cut out your fenders, they're welded down low. I'm going to either cut like right above this hinge or right down the middle of the hinge, because this is a good guideline to have to bolt up the new floor. And if it doesn't bolt up, then you're going to know right away. So reference points. So the hinges, I'm gonna take everything up and then I'm gonna drop down on this line here where the black paint is. So I'm gonna cut through the hinge. Obviously I'm gonna take it off, but I'm gonna cut through the middle, and then once I'm over here, I'm gonna bring it down to that lower line on the black. That's the line that I'm gonna cut, and then that'll drop the fender because the fender's down low, spot welded down low. So this is gonna be my cut line on the whole van. Now on the floor, I'm going to go from this lip, or this line, over is gonna be cut. This is gonna stay. Frame channel is here. So these bars are going to be moved over one, and they're going to be bolted to the lip on the frame channel for my reference point. So I'm going to move these over one, measure where the hole is on the lip, and mark it, and that's where one of my reference points is going to be to bolt the new floor in. Same thing over there. And then back here, same thing. If I go above the hinge, I'm gonna have to move this bar up before I do anything. Or I can go through it right there, and once I get through, I'm gonna get into a little bit of this green paint, but then drop down to the line, drop down, and then follow that cut all the way around. That way I'm cutting above, your weld line is there. So I'm cutting above all the weld lines so the floor should drop out, especially in the rear here, because there's a lot of material and layers through here. So I'm cutting above the weld lines so this all drops out. Now, on this, I'm taking only like an inch. It's like an inch to the flat part there. Maybe a little bit more, like a ½ inch from this line to about there. And then the rest of this center is gonna stay. And then same thing over here. I marked it there. Everything on this side of that green line is staying. Everything on that side is going. Then I'm gonna cut that donor floor like a ½ inch or an inch longer on the one side and just overlap it right onto this rail or groove. And that's where I'm gonna drill self-tappers throughout on the way up to hold it in place, and I'll take each one out and then weld it in one at a time, and then it'll be bolted up there. I'm gonna move that over and it'll be bolted up there. And the fender bolts, I double checked them. They line up good enough to where I could drill them out just a little bit bigger, a step or two to fit them in. Then over here, I'm gonna drill out all my spot welds around these. That one I need to roach and use the one from the donor van, so I'm gonna have to cut that one a little bit longer. Same thing over here, drill out spot welds. The center cross member is gonna go. I'm keeping the floor, but that center cross member under there, if you can see it, the spot welds on that are gonna get drilled out. That's gonna be replaced with the one from this. And then this center section of floor, I'm just gonna patch with the donor van after the rear floor is already in, because I can just grind out and drill out the spot welds on the donor van and just cut this floor out. I think it's like 12 inches, and then just splice in new floor there. So the floor will be in like 3 sections. A U shape, including the step, a U shape over here, all the way down to the very back, cutting out all this shit. So basically taking all this, saving it, and everything on the out is going. And then tying this in too. So it'll be 3 pieces. And when I tie that in, the front floor will overlap, and I'll spot weld that all in. So that's that. And then the same thing on the donor van. I'm gonna use this, and you can see this is just like foam, like a foam sealant around here. You can see your spot welds, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you drill out these spot welds, and then you can pull that off and keep that with this floor, and that's all gonna go in. Same thing here, like the cut line's gonna come here, and then, well, it's gonna go up through the hinges, and then I'll tie that all in. This will go with this floor. This is another reference point, so I know if this lines up in the LRP, then that's aligned. I'm gonna drill out the spot welds on all these, clean this up. This one I need, so I'm gonna drill these out and probably cut this up here a little bit higher. This one's already detached, so I could just cut it and it'll go with the floor, and then I can weld this in to that one on the LRP. And then the same thing, get my 1, 2, 3, 4, I think we're 4 over or 5 over on that. So mark my flat cuts here, and same thing. And then this cross member, I'm gonna, the front one there that the stands are on, grind out or drill out the spot welds on that, and then move that to the LRP and use that cross member because it's good. And then anything else I need to plate like those hex plates on the where those cross members meet. Anything I need to replace on the LRP, I can just use this extra sheet metal, remove spot welds, have extra parts, whatever, and then I could even save these panels. I can cut up floor panels and put those away or whatever I don't use out of this floor, this center mass, I can save or cut up to have splice replacement panels down the road or whatever. If it's part of the floor and I can use it later on, I'll save it, just like the front end. Try to keep as many extra parts around as I can since I have a couple vans, but so that's the plan. And I wanted to do a video on it to give you an idea of how I'm going to do this, because it's probably just going to be done and then I'll post a video on it. I'm not going to film this because I need to focus on this. So this video is explaining my process for getting this floor in. So we're going to do a U shape all the way to the back and then cut it over above all the weld lines so this bad shit just drops out. Get it out, cut that out, get it in. It's going to make moving this floor underneath here a lot easier, getting it lifted up a lot easier, getting it in place a lot easier, and keeping it all in line. And the other thing I'm going to do that I didn't explain is when I cut this off past that rust on that frame channel, right past there, you can see the spot welds on the frame channel lip, which runs right here along the floor. I'm going to mark that, and I am going to make gusset plates that line the frame channel that stick out. And then on the donor van frame channel, I'm going to drill holes in that frame channel. And then when I slide it over the gussets that are welded to the LRP frame channel, I can rosé weld it, and then I can stitch weld it around where the seam is, where the two channels butt up. I'll stitch weld all that, and then I'll weld my floor across as I need to. So I'm going to gusset, or slug is another word if I'm dealing with like Harley stuff or Harley frames. Slug the frame channel. So then when the new frame channels slide in, you're going to have a place to go. It's going to be like another reference point. For something like this, you have to have reference points, because if you get this out of alignment, you'll never get it back in. And you'll be one of those losers going down the road sideways. And, you know, I don't want to do that. So, knock on wood. This is all preparation. The garage, doing all this, was all preparation for this job. You have to spend the money and do it the best as you can, instead of being some hack that just doesn't know what the fuck they're doing and just starts chopping away at shit. And I've never done this before, but I've done my research enough to feel comfortable with doing it. But I've spent a lot of time, effort, and money just getting my garage, you know, ready to do this job. I think I have almost 400 in steel just to brace this, and I went a little nuts, but I don't care because I want to be, you know, caution. And probably another $100 or, you know, in nails and wood material to reinforce this garage. So, you know, and this is why this isn't for everybody. People probably think this thing is far beyond its time and, you know, needs to go to the scrapyard, but I don't know. These things are cool. There's not a lot of them around, and this is what I chose to save this year. My El Camino's next, but this is what I could afford too. I didn't plan on having another van. I saw this, it was sitting, and I knew eventually that it would get scrapped because of the shape that it was in, or parted out. And I thought it was too cool, and I wanted to roll the dice on it. And this is what I had to deal with. So I couldn't bring myself to crushing it, so this is why we're here. But it was cheap. It was $800. You're not going to get an $800 van with a title that, you know, was seized up and sounds good and, you know, just needs body work, a ton of body work. But you're not going to get one for $800. I'll probably have 10 grand in the damn thing by the time I'm done. But, you know, what do? I got to get my seats reupholstered. I'll have a couple hundred in getting the heads done. And, you know, everything else I got to do myself. But the seat upholstery alone will be expensive, and the material to rebuild the interior. The shag carpet will be expensive. So I'm not made of money, so I got to save up a little bit at a time to do this. But that's what that cost. But just to give you an idea, there's a lot of prep that goes into something like this. So, but you guys aren't stupid, you know that. But I hope you enjoy it. This is the plan. So hopefully next time you see this, it doesn't look like this. And like I said, if I can film it, I'll film it, but I'm not going to promise. So I wanted to do a video beforehand of what I have come up with the help of some friends, on how to save this van. And that's the best that we could all put our heads together and come up with, and I think it's a good plan. So stay tuned if you like vans and body work and old shitbox vehicles that should be crushed, but, you know, deserve another chance. But this is what $800 gets you. Sometimes more than $800 will get you this, depending on the vehicle. So definitely takes time, money, and effort. And if you don't have a lot of money like me and you like this shit, this is what you got to do it. I'm just a regular working dude. I don't have money. I just, you know, do this because this is what I do. I don't have a TV. I don't, you know, have social media. I don't do any of that shit. So I thought it would be cool to make some videos on some car stuff, on what I do, instead of like sit around and rot my brain. So that being said, we'll see you on the next one, and see what we get. Later.